The film is set in the year 1815. Napoleon is overthrown, and his supporters dream of the return of their leader. At Cape Corsica, the ship Pharaoh meets a sinking ship. Sailor Edmond Dantes saves a drowning girl. Captain Danglars takes from the girl a letter from Napoleon. After coming to her senses, Angel demands the letter back, but doesn't receive it. In the harbor, Angel thanks Edmond for saving her life. Danglars goes to see his commander. The captain complains about Edmond, for he disobeyed a direct order and jumped into the water to save a drowning girl. Mr. Morel, however, dismisses Danglars himself for wanting to abandon a defenseless man. The chief appoints Edmond with the captain. The future captain goes to see Mercedes. Edmond hugs his beloved girl and says that they can get married after his appointment. The captain goes to his father, who works as a servant for the rich Morcerf family. It is thanks to them that Edmond was able to get an education and serve on the ship. The captain sits at the table next to Mercedes, whose parents don't even suspect their connection. On the ship, Edmond tells Ferdinand Morcerf about his plans to get married. The boy is very upset because he himself is in love with Mercedes. Soon, Edmond's wedding takes place. The former Captain Danglars stands mysteriously at the door of the temple, where officers soon burst in. They arrest Edmond and take him away from the wedding. The prosecutor informs them that the captain has been denounced. It turns out they found a note from Napoleon in his Bible. Edmond tells of Angel's rescue. Captain Danglars locked her in Edmond's cabin, where she may have left the note. Or Danglars himself, offended by the suspension, could have planted it. Gerard is going to question the ship's crew, and if anyone confirms Angel's presence in the cabin, Edmond will immediately be returned to his fiancée. Ferdinand also arrives at the prosecutor's office. Gerard reports that already 2 sailors have suggested that Edmond may be a supporter of the emperor. The prosecutor promises that he will let the captain go if Ferdinand will simply vouch for him. Mercedes' cousin refuses, not wanting to disgrace his family. Edmond learns that he is to be imprisoned. The chief of the guards says that since the captain has been imprisoned rather than executed, he knows too much. In the evening, the prosecutor goes home, where his sister is waiting for him. She turns out to be the same Angel whom Edmond rescued. The girl reproaches Gerard with the fact that for the sake of his reputation, he decided to imprison an innocent captain. Angel also mentions the prosecutor's mistress Victoria and their child. The girl is going to surrender herself and her brother at the same time. However, Gerard attacks her and strangles her. 4 long years pass. Edmond lives in detention on an island. One day, Edmond communicates with another prisoner through a crack in the wall. The captain learns that he has already spent 4 years in confinement. Edmond is determined to talk to the other prisoner again. After removing some bricks, the captain discovers a tunnel and enters the next cell. Abbot Faria tells him that it took him 6 years to build the tunnel. To dig another tunnel from Edmond's cell to the exit would take twice as long. In between work, Edmond chats with the abbot. Faria promises that he will teach the captain various languages, history, and philosophy in 7 years. The abbot sees knowledge as a weapon that can help outside the walls of the detention place. One day, Faria asks what the first thing the captain will do when he escapes from the island. Edmond replies that he is going to find his beloved. Faria tells of the Templar treasure and then mentions that he is a descendant of the Templars. The abbot is willing to share the untold wealth, but it is up to Edmond to spend it for good or for revenge. Another 10 years pass. The tunnel collapses and Faria is badly injured. Before his death, the abbot informs him that the treasure is on the island of Monte-Cristo. Having lost his only friend, Edmond weeps bitterly. Soon, the inspector notices that the abbot is not responding during the inspection. The man is about to lift Faria in a large sack. Hidden in the tunnel, Edmond hides in the sack and puts Faria himself in his cell. When the replacement is discovered, Edmond is already at sea. Swimming out of the water, the captain wants to visit his father and learns terrible news. The prosecutor informs everyone that the captain has been hanged. Because of this, Edmond's father starves himself to death. In addition, Mercedes has long since married Ferdinand and left for Paris. Edmond decides to go to the island of Monte-Cristo. Following Faria's instructions, the captain finds a crypt and treasure. A year passes. In Marseille, the captain appears incognito and finds Cardus, his old friend. Pretending to be a priest, Edmond discovers that he has been betrayed by Danglars, as well as Ferdinand. Morel intercedes for his captain, but his company soon inexplicably goes bankrupt. It was Danglars who bought it out. It turns out that he is connected with the secret about Victoria, along with the prosecutor. Gerard, in addition, attacked his sister. Angel was sold to known pimps so that she couldn't save Edmond. Cardus is ashamed that he has done nothing to help his friend. The disguised Edmond promises that one day he will come again and give him a chance at redemption. In the church, the captain says he will do what God has not done, for he himself will become judge and executioner. Edmond finds Angel ill. The woman recognizes him and tells him it is too late to save her. Angel reveals that she once decided to take Gerard's life in Paris. However, Victoria gave birth that day, and her brother decided to bury the baby alive in the garden. Angel saved the boy then, and asks now that Edmond take him under his protection. The captain fulfills the request and finds Andre. The boy agrees to help Edmond in carrying out his revenge. At the same time, the captain becomes Count of Monte-Cristo. 5 years later in Paris, Ferdinand receives another award. On his way home, his medal is stolen. Ferdinand's son Albert runs after the thief, but falls into a trap. He is rescued out of trouble by the Count of Monte-Cristo, who suddenly appears. When Albert loses consciousness, Edmond recalls his men who carried out the attack. A weapon with the Count's initials on it is left near the boy. Soon, Ferdinand and his son visit the Count. Masked Edmond meets the guests. Albert thanks Monte-Cristo for saving him, and Monte-Cristo decides to show them his weapons. Albert stays by the Count, while Monte-Cristo receives an invitation to go hunting on Sunday. Albert wanders round the house and sees a gorgeous girl. Edmond finds the boy and tells him that it is Haida, his goddaughter. Monte-Cristo asks Albert not to flirt with the girl, lest she break his or her heart. Haida, meanwhile, is preparing for a meeting that has been secretly and long planned. Andre has also been trained by Edmond so that nothing gives away that he is a man of low birth. At the hunt, Monte-Cristo and Andre, who pretends to be a duke, meet at once Ferdinand, Gerard, and Danglars, who has become a very rich man. During the feast, the guy meets Eugénie, Danglars' daughter. Edmond, meanwhile, is introduced to Mercedes. The woman observes the Count of Monte-Cristo in shock, as if recognizing him. However, Mercedes tries to pull herself together and invites Edmond to stay with them. Returning home, Monte-Cristo is also trying to recover from a meeting with a former lover. Haida, who was once hurt by Ferdinand, says that they will soon take revenge on all their enemies. At Ferdinand's dinner, the girl continues to charm Albert. Edmond talks to Mercedes, who confesses that he reminded her of a man from the past, whom she lost in tragic circumstances. Returning home in a carriage, Haida gives Monte-Cristo a note from the enamored Albert. The boy makes a date despite Edmond's requests. Returning from a date, Haida informs her that neither Albert nor Mercedes will be coming to dinner on Saturday. Monte-Cristo seems hesitant, but Haida says that she has not forgotten how Ferdinand took her father's life. Edmond specially organizes a dinner at the house where Victoria gave birth to her son, and the prosecutor then buries him in the garden. At the dinner, Monte-Cristo mentions the history of the house and says that an innocent child was taken from life here. When the prosecutor states that this is only a rumor, Edmond tells him that the house is haunted. Monte-Cristo begins to tell the sinister story, which makes Victoria, who has become Danglars' wife, tremble violently. The Count says that he had a vision of a woman in labor in the house, from whom the child was then taken away. The voice led him to the garden. Monte-Cristo dug for a long time, but found nothing. Gerard exhales quietly, but then Edmond tells him that today, while sticking torches in the garden, they found a wooden box underground. Monte-Cristo didn't open it, for he had decided to share the moment with his guests. Edmond opens the box, but there is only dust. The next day, Victoria panics because the Count spoke as if he had been there that day. But why was the box empty? Gerard communicates with Monte-Cristo's enemy Caulifax, but the latter declares that the Count has really arrived in Paris for the first time. Edmund returns to his homeland for a while to talk to Cardus. Hyde, meanwhile, becomes close to Albert, and Andre to Eugénie, Danglars' daughter. Soon, the Colfax newspaper prints the news that Danglars' fleet has been stolen. It turns out to be false, and Danglars decides to take revenge on the liar who profited from his name. To buy back all his shares and sue, the man borrows money from the Count of Monte-Cristo on the security of all his property. A trial is about to take place. Andre steps forward as Colfax's representative and declares that the news was not false. Also, the guy is going to introduce himself by his real name and gives his date and a place of birth. The prosecutor leaves the room after Andre calls him father. At the same time, Cardus and his men steal Danglars' fleet. The man wants to extend the lien on the property from Monte-Cristo, but the man refuses, saying that everything belongs to him now. In addition, Edmund makes Danglars realize who is in front of him. Gerard is led away from the courtroom, but is attacked by his son. Having taken the life of the prosecutor, Andre takes his own life as well. Haida is angry with Edmund, though the latter says the boy disobeyed him. The girl believes that Monte-Cristo's hatred of his enemies brought only evil. Haida wants to run away with Albert and save him. However, Monte-Cristo forces the girl to confess her past. Having learnt of Haida's intrigue, Albert is angry with Edmund and challenges him to a duel. Monte-Cristo agrees in order to cause Ferdinand great pain. In the evening, Mercedes comes to see Edmund. The woman says she recognized him immediately by his voice and look, and kept trying to understand what he was up to. Having learnt of Ferdinand's denunciation, Mercedes asks for revenge on him, but not on the innocent boy. Monte-Cristo promises to spare him. Albert and Edmund remain alive, though they ride to the duel. Haida stays with Albert and escapes with him. Meanwhile, Mercedes leaves her husband. An enraged Ferdinand goes to Edmund, who is already waiting for him. A long fight unfolds between formerly best friends and now hated enemies. During this cruel duel, Monte-Cristo wounds the traitor, but doesn't take his life. Edmund goes to sea to wash away the traces of betrayal and revenge, and leaves Mercedes a letter asking her to trust and wait for him. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.